So we have these pre-loved Silvanian families, and let's make D&D characters out of them. Hey, it's Eline. I am a artificer, tinkerer, and overall crafter. That is my familiar right there. Last time we made a criminal barbarian bunny Silvanian family critter, and this time we are going to make another one. So in the last video we randomized the character, we randomized the race, the background, the class of the character, and in this video we are going to do the exact same but then for a different character. How we are going to randomize it is in typical D&D fashion, and it's by rolling a dice. I have here my trusty D&D dice pouch. I made it in a different video, and we are going to take out a set and roll the stats. So this is how it's going to work. So I'm going to pick one out. It's either going to be a mouse, a cat, or a bunny. And we are going to roll their stats. So I just need to randomly pick one of these. I have nowhere else to put them, so we're just gonna put them in my familiar's cat tree. Hey baby. So I'm just gonna not look. I'm looking at the sun right now, and I'm gonna pick out this one. And it's a little mouse. We are going to be making a full character out of this little mouse. So this is one of the children of the Silvanian families. As you can see, they're quite a lot smaller. That's why I think it's very cute to make these a halfling. So hobbits, that kind of stuff, or a goblin, or something that tells you that they're small. As always, we have our trusty little randomization sheet. So first up, we have to roll a d12. And this white small mouse is going to be a bard. Okay, so little bard. Then I need to roll a d8 for features, and this means they either, if they're like tiefling-ish, they have horns, or dragonborn, they get horns and tails. If they're an elf, they get longer ears or pointy ears, and if they're a fairy, they have wings. And these are all done on the uneven number of a d8. So we have a d8 right here. That's a 1, so they are gonna have little horns because they're a little tiefling. And then as a background, we are going to roll a d12 again. And that's an 8, so it's an outlander. So we are going to make a little bard out of this little mouse. I'm very excited. I also have to do something with clay, which I'm kind of nervous about, because you can't just pop these in the oven. And he's extra small, so which means I have to make the details extra small as well. So yeah. And I like the fact that he's white at this point. It means we can add any kind of color to him. So yeah, if he's a tiefling, he could have like a different colored horns or different colored hands, so, or fur. So yeah, we are going to continue with designing his character in D&D Beyond. So D&D Beyond is one of the most popular, I think, used D&D platforms. It can be an app downloaded on your tablet, on your phone, on your laptop, whatever. And you can make characters on it. You can have campaigns fully run on it. We use it quite often to write everything down on our personal character sheets. So we have a readsy.com name generator. It's for fantasy, and I just randomized a halfling male name, and we have 5 options. And we are going to be rolling a d10 because there are 5 names, and every 2 numbers are going to be for one of the names. So we have a 5, a moss oakdill. So I'm gonna write that name down. I was really hoping for that name, so I'm glad I got it. As always, we are starting from level 1, and that's purely because then I can maybe level them up if I want to, but also because if I want to make eventually, I think, a little mini campaign out of this, like a little one-shot, I can have players play the characters. If you haven't played a bard at this moment, I haven't either. I've done it once, and I hated it, because I was a supporting character and I like slashing, so didn't work for me. But the primary ability for a bard are charisma, yeah, they can wield simple weapons, choose 3 musical instruments, and they have a starting equipment. So we are going to choose a few instruments. Personally, I've always loved the look of the lyre. We are also going with, I think a lute is quite nice, and then we're just gonna go with bagpipes because I think that's gonna be a funny thing. We are going to choose a skill, which I think will be stealth because he's a tiefling, but also a halfling, and halflings are quite stealthy. And I think it would be fun to have somebody who's good at deception, at lying, because he's a bard. Probably because he is an outlander. I think it will be good to have him good in survival, so survival checks. You can give somebody bardic inspiration up to 60 feet with a bardic inspiration die. And then spellcasting, few cantrips, a few spell slots. So we're gonna choose some spells. We have 6 that we could use. Dancing lights, which is you create a 4 touch-sized lights within range, making them appear as torches, lanterns, glowing orbs that hover for the duration up to 1 minute. Vicious Mockery, I think this one is amazing. Charm Person, Color Spray. I don't know this one, I've never seen it. You launch a dazzling array of slashing colorful lights. Each creature within a 15-foot cone originating from you must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or have be blinded. Yeah, nice. Dissonant Whispers. 1 creature of your choice it can see within range hears a distorted melody in its mind. The target takes a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 psychic damage. And then Healing Word, which is very nice to have in a D&D campaign. Next up, we have backgrounds. So our background is a Outlander. So the D&D 5th edition says that a character raised from a forest civilizations, a nomad, hunter, or guide familiar with extreme survival. Which I think is quite funny for a bard, because they could be like a traveling band, for example. That just popped in my head, which means we have to use it. His skill proficiencies are gonna be... We often use investigations in our D&D campaigns, which I think is quite handy to have a proficiency skill in. And then also maybe sleight of hand. And then tool proficiencies. I think navigator's tools would be nice if they're on the road and they're outlanders. Languages, well, he's gotta have to speak halfling because halfling. The alignment, this is how we usually do it. You have a grid of 3 by 3, and we are just gonna roll 6, which is chaotic. Chaotic neutral is kind of fitting for a bard, and then his lifestyle is probably quite modest if they're in a band. Personal characteristics: 2 feet 8 or 3 feet 4, and I think we're just gonna go smack dab around in the middle, so we're just gonna make him 3 feet. His age. This we are also going to randomize. We are going to take a D10 and a
D100.
Gonna roll these 2, and we are going to see how old he's gonna be. So we have a 20 and we have a 6, so he's going to be 26. So also quite a young character. Personality traits. We are also going to randomize it. So I have a list of World Anvil personality traits, and there are 100, a D10 and a D100. He's 19, and here it says, the first thing I do in a new place is note the locations of everything valuable, or where such things could be hidden. So he's probably gonna be a little bit kleptomaniac. His ideals. Yet again, we're gonna roll D100 and D10. Now we got a 29, which is charity. I distribute money I acquired to the people who really needed it in need. So is he gonna be like a little Robin Hood? I think we're gonna make a little Robin Hood. Does look like it. Bonds, he probably has his bandmates, which are his family. They travel everywhere and probably steal a little bit of money to give it to the poor or the orphanage. And then flaws, kleptomaniac, probably. And then for his species, he's gonna be a little tiefling. So his ability score increases by intelligence by 1 and charisma by 2. He He has dark vision, which is very good. Hellish resistance, so he has resistance to fire damage. And Infernal Legacy. So you know the Thaumaturgy cantrip, I love that one, when you reach level 3. So his ability scores are probably going to be a standard array. And I think they're quite nice in this one. Strength is probably going to be the weakest because he's a bard. So yeah, I think it did it all quite well. So he's going to have leather armor, 2 daggers, musical instruments of your choice, and an entertainment pack. So I'm just going to choose probably the lute. It's going to be his band instrument. Next, okay, we got our character sheet. I think it's fun if you can also play this character, so I'm gonna put his character sheet in the description down below. Yeah, you could use both of them. I will also put Ophelia's character in there as well. So yeah. And now it is time to make the design. So I opened up my Procreate app and imported the little mouse. And I wrote down everything that I wanted to keep by for designing the character. I gave him horns and a little very flashy bardic inspired vest. First thought of making him a little bit more orangey, but then I thought, well, why not make him purple, because I do love purple. And that just screams tiefling to me. I gave him bushy hair to give more of the vibe of a halfling, because technically a lot of halflings have like curly hair. And then I wrote down everything that I had to make on the character itself and describe in what kind of way I needed to make it, so either out of fabric or clay and that kind of stuff. So yeah, now it is just time to get cracking and get to work. Now that we have the official design, we can go on to confidently put paint on this little critter. So I first started off with dry brushing a purple layer onto his skin. Dry brushing is basically you put as least amount as possible paint on it, and then you go over it with the paintbrush. And I did that with acrylic layers. This part, what I'm doing right now, I am painting his little leggings, but then with a fabric paint. And I did notice that the fabric paint doesn't dry as quickly as the acrylics, but it does stay soft, so his fur stays softer than when I go over it with acrylics. Personally, because of time, I like the acrylics more, but if you still want to have the Silvanian plushie effect a little bit more, I would go with fabric paints. After doing the base coats, I gave him a little bit more dimension with a darker paint color of purple. I gave him some eyebrows. I painted his eyes a little bit more green, and I painted his ears and the place where his hair would go a darker color as a darker tone. Then I went over with his head with aluminum foil, and then I sculpted with polymer clay his hairdo on top of him like a little hat. And I did this so that I would know that the sculpture that I made would fit him nicely. So that's just me making it. I also sculpted the horns for the tiefling attributes and the tail out of polymer clay. And lastly, I also made his little lute in polymer clay. As in my previous video, I also said I wanted to create an illustration for each character, and that is what we are seeing right here. Yet again, in Procreate, we are drawing him playing his instrument, and I thought it would be a cute idea to have him sitting in a cart because he is an outlander and they're traveling a lot with their band. So I thought maybe they could be like a traveling band in a cart, and then they would just play their tunes on the road. And that is all I did here. I searched up a 3D model on SketchUp, I think, for the cart because I could not get a good reference photo for this. But yeah, I had a lot of trouble with this illustration in color wise. I first thought about making everything purple or dark or night, and I just couldn't get out of it. But I wanted him to play with his flickering lights. Casting one of his spells, flickering lights, which are the little butterflies instead of glowing orbs. I thought it would be cute if they were little butterflies. And at this moment I'm just really trying to put him more into the scene so that he would make more sense with the colors, and that is the end of it. And here is our finished illustration. So after the baking, I tried the pieces on our little moss, and they turned out all alright. The hairdo was a little bit too big, but nothing glue couldn't fix. Sadly, the tail snapped here, and I gave them a base color. And then the next day, I went in with defining the details in his little fur and defining the details in the clay bits, so in his hair and his tail. And I really wanted to have it a lot of texture, and really showing how curly his hair is with a lot of highlights. I also colored the inside just in case. And then we also painted his lute. This I think was my favorite part out of this whole project because I really like how this one turned out, because I could paint it like I usually paint on my own instruments. And then here we are finally going to sew something together. So I took apart his original little jacket that he had as a pattern, and then I found this 100% cotton fabric at the thrift store. I already had it in my closet, and I thought it was a cute fabric to use, and it's also easy to work with. I traced down his original vest, which was actually a tiny bit too big, but I used it as a pattern, and then from there I chopped off all of the parts that I didn't want to use. And I gave his vest a little bit more of a point at the front. It looked at some points a little bit like a little cape, but I don't think that's really all that bad. And then I went in with embroidery floss, sewing up the armholes so that this one piece of pattern could become a vest. Here you can see that. And I finished off the edges with a blanket stitch because I did not want the threads to loosen whilst handling him all too much. I just did this with the exact same embroidery thread matching with the fabric. And during the time I measured if his hands would still fit in it, and at this point I got really excited because it was a perfect fit. And I just finished up the blanket stitch. It took me a while, to be honest. It's a new stitch that I learned. I had to search it up on Google quite a lot of times while I was doing it. And then as a detail in the illustration and the design, I had his little corners of his vest having a little bit of a fiery design, so I embroidered a few stitches on his vest with orange embroidery thread. And here's our little guy with his open vest because he's a bard. And then we went in back with the lute painting, and then I could finally add the details such as the strings and his little flame details
matching with his vest, of course. But yeah, also because he's kind of a tiefling and he's resistant to fire, I thought it was a cute little design. And then for the last step, we are just gluing it all on with super glue, because I could not wait. Sadly, his eyebrows got covered by his hair, but he still looks cute. He looks like a little mouseling Justin Bieber in purple. So yeah.
We are finally done. Took me a while. I was scared to sew his little vest because it's so teeny tiny. But yeah. Oh no. I accidentally dropped him and now he has a cropped tail. I'm just gonna glue that back together. So our little buddy is done with his little loot. I really like how this one turned out. It's so small. And it also has like a fire detail at the back. And then here is our little moss. Our tiefling, halfling mouse bard. I really like how he turned out. He has the curly hair, which I wanted. And I just painted on his nose for the last little detail. And I think that really made him a little bit more cute. I really like how his little vest turned out. It fits absolutely perfectly. I'm very glad about that because this is a tiny miniature sewing project, which are always quite difficult because I am a beginner. I decided to go with more of a yellow vest because I think it complements the purple more of him, and also because I had the fabric on hand and it was a very cute 100% cotton fabric. The only thing that I would maybe change for the next time is his tail. He has a very straight tail, which don't think too much about it. Anyway, here he is, and that is number 2 out of our whole D&D campaign. Compared to our Ophelia, which is this one, I thought she was already small. He's a lot smaller, so I think they're cute together. So yeah, that's our bard for our party. Now it's just time for his final reveal shots, and let's go ahead and see that. Overall, I'm very happy how he turned out. He's just a little guy. And yeah, I learned a lot from this. The character sheet will be down below in a link. I think I'll make a link so that you could maybe play with this character if you want to have a character, but not make it yourself. So yeah, that's him. I think the illustration turned out quite cute. It's not my favorite illustrations of all time because it's very much in a genre that I'm not used to drawing, but I did enjoy making it and looking up references of carts and bards and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is it for our little moss as a wrap-up. I am very grateful for finally having 1,000 followers. I have been trying to get 1,000 followers since I started with YouTube, which has been 6 years ago now, I think. Maybe more, 7 years. Since I've started posting videos, I never thought it would come so soon. I tried to get 1,000 last year. It was on my bingo list and I didn't get it. And then in January, it came immediately after I made some more D&D content. So I'm gonna take the hint and I'm gonna make more D&D content, more fantasy, as I've said in my recap video. So yeah, I'm very thankful for everybody even watching the videos. I really like making them, and I try my best to zhuzh it a little bit up with style and with illustrations and fantasy and the way of filming. So I am really liking the process of making videos and editing them as well. It's one of my favorite parts of it. If you live in Europe, I know most of the people that watch these videos are from America, but if you live in Europe and you know of Vinted, I have posted some of my illustrations on there for prints. I am thinking about making a Etsy shop kind of thing with Printify so that my illustrations can be printed on demand, but that is something for the future. If you're interested in that, please let me know and I'll get on it. That is the end of this video. If you have any other ideas for me to make, D&D related or anything else, I really like dipping my hands into different crafts. Just tell me in the comments and I'll take a look at it. So yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.